All right, BradCooney.com would like to welcome in once again back to the show Miss Susan Olsen. Of course, if you are a Brady Bunch fan, you know her as Cindy Brady. Susan, thanks. Thanks a lot for coming in. How are you?
No problem. Good, thank you.
Look, last time I talked to you, I believe it wasn't too far after Florence Henderson passed away. And then we had a historical presidential run, so I wanted to get you back on the program. Touch base, mostly want to talk politics, and maybe touch base a little bit on Brady Bunch stuff, but mostly politics tonight.
Okay.
Definitely interested in your thoughts, because a lot has gone on since last I've talked to you. And so, you know what, I want to just go back in time just a little bit, back to 2016, where we both saw Donald Trump pull off one of the greatest, if not the greatest, presidential election win in U.S. history. Tell the listeners,
the most unexpected.
for sure. I mean, there's no question. So tell the listeners, why do you think he won? How did he pull this off?
Because in spite of what we see on the media, what we're told is happening, there are a lot of people in between the coasts. The majority of the people in this country, I think, are sick and tired of common sense not counting. And they wanted somebody who spoke common sense, who wasn't a politician, and somebody who wasn't afraid to say, there are things that we're doing now that are terrible for this country, and the plans to continue these things are going to ruin this country. We need to put America first and Americans first, and forget about political correctness.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the other side that lives on political correctness has just it's political correctness on steroids and hysteria, and that surprised me. That didn't get any better. And I've actually, I've gotten off Facebook. I barely ever go on, just because it's all so crazy.
It really is.
Yeah, and everybody, people are just, the people that claim that they're against fascism are the fascists.
Absolutely.
And want to
Look at
shut
Berkeley
down
College.
anybody.
Look at Berkeley College. I mean, look at how they act.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's just crazy. That was the birthplace,
Right.
kind of, or at least of the free speech movement. And it's so sad because, I always thought, well, if you're left or right, it's a difference of opinion. And we're really all a lot more alike than we think, if we just really talk to each other. But we have a new breed of regressive left that you can't talk to. And it's scary to me because, maybe I read too much into things, but I like to pride myself on having a fairly realistic view of history. And I see the kind of attitudes that were present in a situation like the French Revolution, where the people were hysterical and insane, and the people that were being applauded one week were on the guillotine the next week.
Yeah.
And the human beast is, I'm a big animal lover, and a lot of times I prefer animals because humans are just too wacky.
I tell people all the time that I like dogs more than I like most people.
Well, when you think about it, dogs are far better.
They are. They're unconditional love. Right. Exactly.
They're far more forgiving and they're more loving.
Yep.
They don't smell quite as well.
Yeah, actually, it depends on what you
But
dog is.
I always say they're angels with stinky breath.
That's a good way to put it. So literally within minutes of President Trump's inauguration, the media, primarily MSNBC, CBS, ABC, NBC, and CNN, they started this relentless attack on Trump, and it has not stopped. It has not, and it's jumped from news cycle to news cycle, from all the mistresses that were coming forward accusing him of sexual assault, and then they all disappeared, and then it moved to the Russia thing, and it just does not stop. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, in the first place, it's scary to me, again, because I think of things like, the French Revolution. I think of how hysterical people can become and how violent and cruel they can be. And it shows you that it's kind of like we always knew that somebody could be accused of something in the media, and then when they're exonerated, the media doesn't really report that. So, this thing follows the people wherever they go. And, people believe what the media have told them. I heard Ellen DeGeneres just a few days ago, and I like Ellen.
Me too.
I don't know her, but I've always wanted to, because I really like her. And she's saying just point blank what a hard time she has with Trump, because he's dangerous for her as a gay woman. And it's like, where did this come from? It came from the media. And people don't even realize that they've been hoodwinked, because Trump is actually the first Republican ever, as far as I know, to come out and say to the LGBTQ community, I am on your side. And as far as I know, he has never said anything otherwise. His policies haven't been otherwise. And how is it better to have a woman, being Hillary Clinton, who was going to bring in droves and droves of people from an ideology that believes that gay people should be killed?
The hypocrisy is amazing. We could write a book on the hypocrisy of all this.
Well, here are these people getting their panties in a twist over statues of Confederates.
And where was all that protesting against the statues when Obama was president for 8 years? Why didn't we hear nothing about it then?
Well, because now the media is saying that Trump is a product of white supremacy, and it was all these racists that voted for him.
Exactly.
And if you supported Trump, then you have to be a racist. And of course, the word racist has lost its meaning, and the people that are using it don't even understand it. And I can accept somebody on the left who may even go so far as to say, hey, communism really would work if we did it the right way, which to me is the epitome of the leftist insanity. But they can phrase the things. They can have legitimate gripes about Trump, and there are plenty of them. I have them too.
Yeah, me too. I do too.
But when I get this crap, just knuckle-dragging, slack-jawed stupidity like, he's Hitler. That is so offensive.
And then the whole racist thing, he's called a racist by so many people. And every time I come across somebody, whether it's in person or on Facebook, that says he's a racist, I go through the same list of questions. I always ask, can you provide provide me one example of where Donald Trump partook in racist activity? And I always get deflections. There's never an answer. It's always very ambiguous.
Well, he didn't deny David Duke enough.
I personally watched him on TV, disavow David Duke like 10 times. 10 times at least I see him do it.
Yeah.
I don't
But he
understand.
didn't do it enough.
Yeah, that's what their argument is.
He
But, I
didn't
mean,
really mean it.
it's unbelievable. And it's the
And
thing,
so childish.
and if you're going to call somebody a racist, at least have some examples of, and so it's such a dangerous charge. You really need to be specific. Give me specific examples of where Donald Trump partook in racist activity. Nobody can do it. He's employed minorities for decades, giving people jobs.
Well,
Minorities.
they'll try, because in their little minds, being against illegal immigration is racist. But illegal is not a race. And, it's not just being against Hispanic people. It's anybody that comes here illegally. And, I'd like to say to these same people who are just wringing their hands about how sad it is and terrible, come on, I mean, this is an old argument, but it's so accurate. Do you lock your doors at night?
Exactly.
And if you walk into your house and you see that somebody has broken in, well, if they're of color and you're white, you darn well better not call the police because you're a bigot.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and then the worst thing to me, of course, I think Keith Ellison is just a snake in the grass.
Oh, he's proven to be tied with radical Muslim.
Absolutely, and the very fact that he took his oath, although I know it's just a ceremony, he took the oath on the Quran. Okay, yeah, this makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to swear to serve your country on a book that promises to overthrow the government.
And he's the deputy chief of the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
He's number
Which
2 in
lets you
command.
know where the Dems are coming from.
I know, it's so scary. That's
And
unbelievable.
I never, I always say, okay, well, it's just, difference of opinion. Today, as far as I'm concerned, and this is why I don't go on Facebook, because it really upsets me. And, some of the people are my friends that I see spewing this idiocy. And I don't think they realize they are on the road to destroying this country. And, it's as far as I can see, they don't want liberty. They don't want the very things that the country was founded on. Okay, fine. Go to Europe, because that's working out real great for them.
Yeah, that place is unbelievable now.
This is one place where it wasn't created to be like that. It was created to protect the smallest minority on the planet, the individual. And of course, it's all about collective, groupthink and collectivism with them. And they don't even realize how suicidal their attitudes are. But for Keith Ellison to compare the Dreamers to the Jews in the Holocaust, that should have angered every Jew, and they should have been out protesting.
Absolutely.
It's so offensive.
The other thing is that this whole this is another real doozy the media did. I like your word, hoodwinked. The media hoodwinked a lot of people with this whole Muslim ban thing. This is unbelievable. So the media paints the picture for the sheeple, I call them sheeple, all to buy into this notion that Donald Trump's banning all Muslims from entering America.
Yeah.
The very fact that Indonesia has the most Muslim population on the planet. It's the number one most populated Muslim population in on the earth, and they're not on the list. They're not on the ban list. There you go. That shoots down the whole Muslim ban thing.
Created by Obama.
That's true. A lot of the countries exactly right. You're right. That's a fact.
And the reason behind it was not so much Islam as it was that these are countries where they can't vet the people. They don't have the records to do so.
Well, because they're in civil war with one another. Like, you got Syria, Libya, Yemen. These are all countries where they don't have functioning governments. They're at civil war. Even the record buildings are blown apart. There's like rubble.
Yes,
there's no way to, like you said, there's no way to vet these people.
Yeah, and frankly, if it was about not wanting the ideology, I'd be all for that too. Because what people don't realize is that there is that. I don't know how it can happen. I doubt that it would, but we can't keep putting Islam in the category of religion, because it's so much more than that. And it's a political ideology, and there's the political aspects of it, which, thank God, most Muslims are most of the Muslims that you're going to meet don't know about that.
Well, there's also something called Sharia law that comes along with that. And a lot of people don't realize that Sharia law is a governing doctrine. And that's something that it's by law has to go into place under. And so these knuckleheads that are out there, especially some of the feminists and some of the, they have no clue what life would be if they had to live under Sharia law. I just wish people would research a little bit about this stuff.
Right. Yeah. And, it's out there. It's available. That's what made me political, unfortunately, is that I began to study Islam.
Yeah.
And, everything's right there in the Quran and Hadith. So the Hadith are probably more important to look into. But it wasn't so much, okay, it's another crazy religion. It wasn't so much Islam that got me going. It was once I knew the truth about that, I looked around and started seeing all these people lying about it. So, like I said earlier, here we go. Here's, we're gonna get all riled up over a statue of a Confederate, but you're gonna completely ignore an ideology that is continuing the slave trade and capturing slaves as we speak.
Yep.
They get a free pass. The Christians don't believe in gay marriage. No, but the Islamists believe in throwing gay people off of buildings. But
they do it every day.
And they don't look at this. I mean, the sheer lack of logic is staggering. But again, the only explanation for it is the fact that they have been hoodwinked or hornswoggled or just plain brainwashed.
Susan, I don't know how you do it. You
have to look at who's doing the brainwashing.
How do you do it? How do you live out in Hollywood, and how do you coexist out there, man? How do you do it? It's got to be a challenge.
I like artists for their art.
Yeah.
I don't really. It's not really up to me to coexist. I don't have a problem with them as much as they have a problem with me.
Right, but the coexisting has to go. It works. It's open ended. There's two sides to it.
Yeah. But what bothers me though is I think. See, this is why I don't go on Facebook. I don't want to see this.
Yeah.
Because in my view of reality, these people are wanting to destroy the country. It's just like, what's going on with the immigration, migration crisis, quote unquote, in Europe. Europe's destroyed.
Oh, they've lost their culture. It's over with.
Yeah.
It's over with.
It's it's past it's at the tipping point where it really can't go back.
Yep.
But I don't know. Maybe it's the foil hat I wear. But I can't help but think there's a conspiracy. Because there's a consistency.
Yeah, the pattern is so strong. It's hard to turn a blind eye to. You can't just say that there's definitely not one anymore. I used to be really, really skeptical of conspiracy. Come on. But you know what? I'm not so skeptical as I used to be. I'll just put it to you that way, where I feel on what you just said. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, people have to be taking their orders from somebody. Who is it that's telling Angela Merkel?
Dispel the farce. Unbelievable what she's doing. Completely. And what's even amazing is she keeps getting reelected, though. I don't understand. I mean, maybe you know what's going on. Maybe you know what this is what worries me about America, because in Germany they opened up the floodgates and let anybody come in, right? So then they gave them the right to vote. So they're using that democracy against the previous culture. That's exactly what they're doing.
Absolutely, and you know what? It should be no surprise to anybody, because that's exactly what they have said that they would do.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a document that was discovered, during the Holy Land Foundation trial, where the Muslim Brotherhood outlines their plans.
Yep.
For North America. And obviously this is already going on in Europe, and you can't tell anybody, well, look at Europe, we don't want the same thing to happen. But something kind of similar happened in South Africa too. It wasn't just ending apartheid, it was a very violent end to apartheid, and it was replacing one form of racism with another form of racism. And I think a lot of the same characters, same ideologies were behind that too. And it's I hate to say communist because then I sound like a freak, but they didn't go away. And cultural Marxism is alive and well, and it's with us. And
people better start paying attention. I know that much. It's getting. This is crazy to say this. It's like, you're a little bit older than me. I think you got me by a couple years. I'll be 52 next month.
Oh, yeah. I got 4 years on you.
Yeah, but that's not much. We're still from the same neck of the woods as far as that time goes. And this is like, what I tell people, and this is sad, but it's just so true. The clock's ticking for me. I don't have any kind of terminal disease, nothing like that. But, if I got 20, 30 years, I'll be happy. If I can get into my 80s, that'd be wonderful. But I feel really, really, really scared and worried for kids being born into the world now, or somebody 15, 14 years old and younger, because I'm afraid what's going to happen in 20 or 30 years from now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I look at my son. My son is 21.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, he was born a pariah because he's a white male. So that makes him guilty of everything. It's like I'll be damned if I'm going to see that put on him. And I know white people who will go on and on about how horrible white people are, and how we've created all these horrible things, and we created racism, blah blah blah. And to them, there's no such thing. I think MTV even said a person of color can't be racist. Bull.
Well, here's the thing about that, though. And this is what you got to think about. Because I've had that same argument put towards me in Facebook debates by multiple African Americans. And some of them will use that card, but all you have to do to flip that is take the word racism out of it and call them a bigot. Because racism, by definition, is what they're trying to say. By definition, they can't be because they don't have the population numbers.
Okay, yeah.
That's the catch.
Good point.
That's the catch.
Yes.
So I squash that and I flip it and say, all right, so I take that word racism and I just say, but you can damn sure be a freaking bigot.
Yeah.
And there you go. That's how you get around that.
Yeah.
Yep. So, you just gotta use your words correctly in these debates. And here's the thing about this is one thing that really gets me, like the whole Colin Kaepernick thing where he's kneeling, and now it's spreading. Now I'm seeing videos of 9 and 10-year-old kids on the football team in like Pop Warner's league that are kneeling, so it's spreading like cancer. My thing is, like, I get the argument that because I'm very vocal about it. I think it's disgusting. I was on the Tommy Lauren show when she was over with the Blaze, and I voiced my opinion on there, and I got a lot of support, but I also got a lot of hate, saying that I must be a racist, blah blah blah. My thing is this: I will stand and march alongside any African American and protest real racism. I'll do that because it damn sure exists, and I know you will. I know your character. I know you would too. I will also march in front of a police station if that police station is known to be or have someone or persons on that force that are aggressive and they conduct police brutality. I'll march in front of that police station.
Yeah.
But I have to have a target. This whole systemic racism bullshit, I don't buy it. I want to know who it is. You can't just paint with a broad brush and say systemic racism. I want to know who the corporation is, what corporation's racist, who the CEOs that are running that corporation, what do they do to be racist? And if you can sell me on that, well, then I'll stand shoulder to shoulder with any minority and protest and march in front of that business. But until you can do that, I don't want to hear it.
Absolutely, yes. It kind of, to some extent, it reminds me a little bit of the feminist movement, which I'm definitely not a part of, because, or the Southern Poverty Law Center started out, great organization. It was needed. It was necessary. It was going after groups like the Ku Klux Klan.
Sure.
And when things get better, the activists don't seem to get the memo.
Mm-hmm.
And when they don't have anything to protest anymore, then they start looking for stuff.
Yep.
And so, like, to me, the feminists, okay, we got the vote, things aren't perfect, but they're a heck of a lot better, and now all you're doing is just, bashing men, and the craziest thing of all is to be so ignorant.
Oh my God.
And so naive that you could be led by Linda Sarsour, who represents the most oppressive ideology on the planet.
It's really unbelievable, the hypocrisy.
It's like a joke. It's like I'm in SpongeBob and it's opposite day.
Yep. You mentioned something before. Remember when I asked you how you coexist out there, and you said that you love the arts, you love the theater. That's a problem.
Not theater so much.
Oh, I'm sorry, the other arts.
I teach that, but
I see what you're saying.
It's probably my least favorite, the performing arts.
Gotcha. I run
my friends are musicians.
I run into the same struggle, even though I don't live anywhere near the West Side, the West Coast. But I love movies. I love the acting. I'm not an actor, but I appreciate great actors, great acting. It's a really, really hard thing. First of all, people don't realize how hard it is. But I really I like musicals. I love movies. I do like plays and theater. I love it, man. I love to go to the movies. I love the whole environment of going to a theater. I love great plots and movies and writing, and I really get into it. So I really can't stand when an actor wrecks it all, when they inject their political ideology and they try to force it on the viewers. So I have to, I decided not too long ago, I got to give it a pass and just separate the two. Because I don't want to give up. Because I don't want to give up what I love doing so much with the movies.
No, you don't. Although sometimes, something will taint your image of somebody. But, right after Meryl Streep said what she did. She has every right to dislike Donald Trump.
Sure.
I'm not even going to say that it's wrong to use your status as a celebrity to say things, because I certainly done that. But what she was saying was so ill-informed.
Yeah.
And yet, I saw, my mind's blanking. Florence, what's the movie that she was nominated for?
Yeah.
Florence Jenkins, Florence Foster Jenkins. Anyway, brilliant. I saw her the next day. I'm like, I can't hold it against her. And I also understand it, too, because I teach acting. Acting encourages emotion. Mm-hmm. And there is a tendency for actors to exercise their emotions more than their logic. Because it keeps their instrument tuned.
As long as they're not hypocrites. As long as they're not hypocritical. I do take issue when somebody like Leonardo DiCaprio, who I also huge fan of his, love his work. But he can't yell at me in America about the environment and then fly his personal jets across the Rocky Mountains and take his yacht out every weekend or whatever.
Right.
You know, so that's the hypocrisy that I have a trouble getting past.
Same here. Or this, let's embrace the migrants. How could we be bigoted? Coming from people who will never have their children beaten up at school for bringing a ham sandwich.
Yeah.
They will never have, they don't have to deal with this. Hey, Clooney, you want to welcome these people in, put them in your home.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding, man.
All of these people. I mean, before I got so political, I used to listen to Barbra Streisand, and my sister had a wonderful explanation. She said, I think that just people get so rich that it kind of makes them crazy, and they feel guilty about being so rich, so they want to do things for the little guy. But when it all comes right down to it, they don't want to do those things with their money. They want to do it with the taxpayers'
That's a great
money.
point. Yeah, good point. That's so true.
So talk about hypocrisy.
Yeah, very much. Unbelievable.
And a lot of it is just virtue signaling.
Right.
It's, when somebody will say to me, well, you don't like such and such Robbie Riff's cousin Oliver says to me, and I'm talking about Islam. Well, basically, Susan, you just have a problem with brown people. And to me, it's like, okay, you've just shown me your level of depth.
Yeah.
To you, it is all about skin color. And with a lot of these people, they make everything racist, and because that is how they see the world. And I think it's a product of being really shallow.
Oh, Soledad O'Brien, she used to follow me on Twitter, and almost, if not 100%, 98% of her tweets on Twitter was racial. It was she's ate up with the race thing, and it's just unbelievable. So I had made a comment on one of her tweets, not directly to her, but somebody that was involved in that in particular Twitter thread, and just they talked about the black on black crime, and one of the persons came at me and said that you know what it was? It was actually the video of the little 10, 11-year-old football players that were kneeling, taking after Kaepernick, kneeling during the national anthem. And one of her followers came at me and said she's more worried about those kids on that football field, African American kids, taking knees. She's more worried about them getting killed. And so I had responded. I said, well, the likelihood of them getting killed by another black person is a lot higher than it is to be killed by anybody else. So that didn't set well with Miss O'Brien. So I was unfollowed immediately. She unfollowed me.
You presented facts.
Yes, that's my point. There's something that Ben Shapiro says that I love. Facts don't care about your feelings.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's so true.
Yeah, but when we have news organizations, we have fake news. Or we have news where something is speculated, and I'm living proof of that. I recall almost a year ago this big story going around that I had been fired.
Oh, I know. But you came on my show. You came on my podcast, and we corrected the record on that.
Yeah.
And then everybody wanted to start smearing you, and it got crazy.
And I remember a day when, in the first place, somebody couldn't run with a story like that without having more proof.
Right, you're right.
Nobody would have cared. And in the second place, any decent journalist would have called the station to see if it's true.
Check your sources.
And in this case, they would have found out, no, it's not true.
Yep. When you didn't get fired,
we have such a low standard of reporting that, I'm sorry, I don't believe that Charlottesville was a white supremacist event. I think there might have been some rednecks. I don't think that there are enough white supremacists in this country to be a danger at all.
You know what happens with that? I'll tell you what happens with that. When you have people like George Soros,
there you go.
You got people with a lot of money that pays people to come to these functions and raise hell, and they can mask whoever they want to mask. They can be whoever they want to be. They're getting paid.
Exactly.
And there you go. And that's what a lot of this stuff is.
Exactly. And then when that thing happens, like, God, this just stinks.
Yep.
Of an organized, staged maneuver.
Absolutely. Remember when Donald Trump was running for president? Everybody was saying how redneck and dangerous his rallies were. It was the Bernie Sanders people that were the violent ones.
Yes,
it wasn't Trump's people. Yeah, there was one incident where there was a Trump guy that sucker punched an African American. You know, that happens. You know, and when you're talking about thousands and thousands of people and all these different stops, you're gonna get a couple bad apples in there.
Yeah.
But the average numbers of those violent fights and protests were Bernie Sanders people. It was not Donald Trump's people.
No. Whenever I see people protesting in the streets, it's like, people on the right don't do that because they tend to be a little older and a little wiser, and they really don't want to go out and get hurt.
And a lot of them are working. A lot of them have jobs. I mean, I don't want to sound like an idiot.
Right, they don't have time to protest.
They don't have time. They're raising families. They're studying. They're in school. They're working. They're doing whatever. It's just most of these real crazy riots are millennials. They're young, and here's another thing. These millennials that are coming out, and there's an indoctrination going on in this country.
Oh, absolutely.
It happens.
The silver ponytailed college professors who should have probably gotten jail time, but they got tenure instead.
Yes, and it starts right around seniors in high school, and they get into college. And you remember when your brain was like when you were 18? I know what mine was like.
Absolutely.
Very, very easily molded. Easily, and these liberal college professors get a hold of these 18-year-olds and just cram their ideology down their throats. And in 4 years, when they graduate college, there you go. Now you got basically a brainwashed liberal.
Yeah, for whom normal logic doesn't work because they've learned this pretzel logic in college.
Yep.
It's and that's why I use the C word, communism, because it didn't go away. It's cultural Marxism. There is an agenda behind it. I wouldn't call George Soros a communist so much as just a collectivist and a globalist. There are many different, people or ideologies that are part of the agenda, but the goal is to destroy America and to destroy the whole idea that people should be free and responsible for themselves.
Yeah, the capitalism is under attack.
And these people would cry. As a friend of mine who's from Romania said, about Bernie Sanders supporters, she said, what are they talking about? They will cry like babies if they have to live with socialism.
Look at Venezuela.
They will cry.
Yeah, your friend from Romania is like living proof. She can tell anybody that socialism has I can count on one hand, on maybe three fingers, how many countries have successfully implemented socialism. And look at all the countries that failed.
Well, yeah, I mean, Venezuela and the countries that
Greece.
Bernie says, I couldn't believe he was getting away with that. Going, look at the Scandinavian countries. What? They're imploding.
Really are. They really are. But again, it gets back to the 18-year-old mind. It gets back to the 18, 19-year-old. They just bought into it. They bought into Bernie's speech.
Well, right. Just like, you go through, you get to be of college age, and suddenly your parents are really stupid, and they don't know anything, and you throw away everything. Oh, my country's stupid. My country's bad. Ooh, communism, that's interesting.
I know.
Why hasn't that been given a fair chance? And you do all this stuff, and everybody pretty much, to some extent or another, becomes liberal.
Yeah, and nobody wants to do the research.
People grow up.
Nobody wants to research the Soviet Union under under their communism, all the bread lines. I remember when I was a kid. Remember when we were kids? Remember the nuclear drills we had to do under our school desks? And, and then you had the bread lines in Moscow, Russia, where people were lined up for miles just to get a loaf of bread. These people don't research that, though, these days. They don't research how things could be.
No, they choose how they'd like them to be. It's like, socialism, communism works great, but only in countries where unicorns poop ice cream.
Exactly.
It's a fantasy.
All right, so one thing I want to talk about, where I'm going to beat up the Republicans a little bit, because I'm not happy with all the Republicans.
Okay, yeah.
I'm not happy.
I'm not a Republican.
I know you're not.
Take offense.
Oh, I'm not either. I'm an independent. I've no longer considered a Republican.
Yeah, good. Hooray for party poopers.
Exactly. So I want to talk about Obamacare and the GOP plan, the Graham Cassidy plan. So that's the latest one they pulled out of their butts. Look, Obamacare, I didn't like it. I don't like government telling people they have to buy anything as far as insurance goes.
Yeah.
I have issues with, penalizing Americans for not signing up for it, and then tripling those penalties and quadrupling those penalties the next year if you don't sign up for Obamacare. So I had a lot of problems with Obamacare. But the Republicans had 8 freaking years. 8 years to fix this, to come up with something that was clearly better, and they've kicked the can down the road and they haven't done squat. And these last 2 plans that they tried to get passed, look, and my thing about John McCain, I don't know what this guy went off the rails. He went off the rails, but ironically, I'm glad he shot this one down. I'm just because this plan is going to make the Republicans lose control of everything if it ever came into effect, because it's not better. It's not better.
No.
It's not.
I know, and it really ticked me off that my very liberal cousin said 8 years they had to come up with something else. Well, 8 years of complaining about Obamacare, and yet now that they have a chance to do something different, they don't have anything. I guess it was all political, and I'm like, okay, you're right.
You can't. She is. It's a tough argument to try to defend. 8 years to fix it, and they just haven't. It's just a fail, a big epic failure on the Republican side. And I'll tell you this: if the Republicans lose control of the Senate, President Trump's got some more worries on his hand. It's going to be very interesting to see what the Democrats do with control, because you know how bad they hate him now.
Yeah.
I'm very interested to see what happens. Hopefully the Republicans will hold on to control, but they may not.
Yeah, but then the Republicans are fighting him too.
They are. That's another disaster. They have control of everything, and they still can't get nothing done.
No, because they're politicians.
Term limits. We need term limits, Susan.
That's one of the things I want the most. One of the things that Trump said he would do. That's part of draining the swamp.
Yeah.
And these people need to leave their position and go out in the real world and live with the laws.
Yep.
That they were paid to pass. that's and lobbying. I think lobbying should be illegal.
Absolutely, I agree too.
We have the best laws money can buy.
Totally agree. All right, kiddo. So we tossed around the politics a whole bunch. The listeners will probably get mad at me if we didn't get into Brady Bunch stuff a little bit. And I did have you on right after Florence passed away, which is so sad because you know what? Right before she passed away, she looked great. She looked great.
She was great.
She was great.
Yeah, I mean, there was a heart condition there that, it was under control. And unfortunately, her daughter and I kind of speculated it's possible that just because she's been so tough and so hardy and such a strong life force that they kind of went, oh, it's Florence, she'll be okay.
You know, it could
send her home. Yeah, and then she got home. She went, I'm not okay. And went back in, and that was that.
That's sad.
Yeah, it is. It is. Although I think that she would prefer to go like that rather than to get sick, get old. She never had to get old.
How much was
that was her way.
how much was she like the mom we all grew up watching on TV?
Very much so, except that she was that mom but blue. She was that mom, but she would crack dirty jokes.
That's great.
Let you drink wine in the house. Underage.
Awesome.
Let you smoke.
So she was like even cooler than people thought.
Right. So she was all that loving. All that good, loving, core principles of motherhood. That was all there, along with being really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And that's a very hard thing to pull off, and she did it, and her 4 kids are proof of it. They're all great people.
Oh, that's great, man.
And speaking of, I'm going to turn this a little bit political, though, because there's a point that I wanted to make, which is, I know that the country is full of people with common sense, and now and then I'll do an autograph show. In fact, I'm going to be in Knoxville for a fanboy fest. Yeah, in the first week of the 6th through 9th of October. I guess that's the weekend. I should know my facts before spewing about it, but my point is that so many people come up to me and they go, they just don't make shows like that. And I'm thinking, I try not to get on my soapbox. Sometimes I do. Well, yeah, they're not supposed to make shows like that. Because it's not according to the cultural Marxist agenda. And I had one of the top producers tell me, and he's definitely not on the right. If anything, I'm sure he's a liberal. But I said to him years ago, why isn't there a show that I can sit down with my son and watch it? We can both watch it, and maybe I get a tip or two on parenting. And he said, oh, that's against formula. I've been told the parents need to either be gone or stupid. And he said, I choose to have the parents gone, or just, not a part of my shows because I really don't want to write stupid parents.
Wow. That's sad.
So the whole thing is the kids should be in charge. So, yeah, don't instill any respect for elders.
Jeez. That's sad. That's sad. What about
It is.
What about have you heard from anybody else, any other Brady gang since Florence Henderson passed?
Well, I never do one of these autograph things without another Brady. So Fanboy will be with me and Mike and Barry Williams. We all, with the exception of Eve, got together for Florence's memorial, which was in January.
Okay.
And Eve is on the East Coast and couldn't make it out. We tend to see each other for things like that. It used to be weddings, now it's going to be funerals.
Wow.
But we do keep in touch. So, yeah, we'll email. I think I'm probably closest with Mike Lookinland.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he sent me a picture the other day of his. He's the animal whisperer. He knows I'm Ellie Mae Clampett, and cat that was feral, and she's just a little angel in his arms. So he sent me a picture of her, just looking up at him adoringly.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, me and you have that in common. We're both. I'm a real animal lover too. Always have been. Always have been.
Yeah, me too. I was born that way.
Yep, that's awesome, man. You know what? I might actually try to come up to that Knoxville showing because I'm not that far. I live in Mississippi.
Oh.
I live in Mississippi, which is not too far from Tennessee. So.
Oh,
possibly.
great! Well, this is one that I'm actually looking forward to going to, because I have to admit they're not my favorite things. But my friend, my dear friend, and I consider her a sibling, Cherie Curry, lead singer of the Runaways, will be there.
Okay.
And she will be demonstrating her chainsaw sculpting.
Wow,
It's going to be fun.
That sounds like a lot of fun. And so was this podcast, and I really appreciate you coming on. We covered a lot of stuff. Before I let you go, always fun, man. Yeah, I enjoy having you on, and we'll do it again soon. But before I let you go, is there any final thoughts? Is there any websites you want to plug? Any projects you work? What about your candy line? You still have a candy line going? Things like that?
Yeah, I do. I'm looking towards possibly writing a book.
Oh.
At this point. And I said I'm not going to get political publicly until I have an actual platform. Mm-hmm. So I'm still kind of open to that. So if I'm getting a paycheck for it, I'll start.
I don't blame you, man.
Mouthing off again. But it's not worth it, right now. Because what they'll do is cut you off at the knees, and you won't be able to make a living doing other things.
Right. I totally makes sense.
Yeah, but I finally got sensible. My sister kept yelling at me, Susan, stop it. Just stop it. Okay. Well.
It's hard to do it, but sometimes you just got to cut the spigot off, and that's it. Just walk for a while.
Well, yeah, and I don't want to be somebody who says, well, I can't talk about that because it's too dangerous, because, that's why bad things happen. But just,
Now, will the book you want...
There'll come a time again.
Sure there will. The book you're thinking about writing, will that be a book on your life? Is it going to be like a biography type thing? Oh, great.
Yeah,
that's great.
A memoir of sorts.
Absolutely. That's going to be a good read. I think a lot of people would be interested in that.
I hope so. I had difficulty. I tried to do it before, and it's kind of a hard sell because I don't have a victim story. And I may go about it in a kind of different way, rather than just a straight memoir.
James Woods is a victim. He
says he'll never work again?
Exactly. He's one of the greatest actors. That guy is a phenomenal actor. He is ridiculously good.
He is goosebump good.
Yes, he's one of the best actors I've ever seen. And he follows me on Twitter. I follow him on Twitter. And he talked about he's glad that he invested well. He was talking about how happy he's very, very grateful that he invested in stocks and bonds because he can't find work because of his political ideology.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah.
So
I know. I have a friend, young, talented, very promising young man, who is scared to death, or was scared to death, that because he works for a big production company, very afraid that somebody would find out that he voted for Trump. And he would be fired. They'd find some reason to fire him.
It's unbelievable. It's like how homosexuals, the gay people, had to be in the closet.
Yes.
It's almost getting like that. Just to be a conservative actor, you have to be in the closet about it these days.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's a secret club for us.
Yep. Unbelievable. All right, Susan, I really appreciate this. It's 9 o'clock here, so I might, I'm probably going to stream this tomorrow, so it's earlier, so we'll get more listens. We do it earlier in the day.
Great.
I'll stream it if you don't mind. Share it on your stuff, on all your social
Please, yes. I'd like to have something to post.
Absolutely will. I really appreciate you. Let's get you back on soon.
Oh, great. Thank you. Always a pleasure.